welcome to the news roundup segment from the Roll for Crit podcast. This week, we are joined by Tim Virnig, the brand ambassador of Thunderworks Games. Let's see what news we're talking about this week, November 1st, 2021.
Starting off with a pretty weird story, in my opinion. So there's a board game publisher called Iello. They're responsible for probably a lot of games that people know. I think maybe King of Tokyo might be their most high profile release, but they have plenty of titles that people are going to be familiar with. And they are a French based company, but of course they have branches in other regions of the world to publish and localize their games. Significantly, at least for us doing this podcast, the United States, where we are located. And they have announced, the French branch of Iello has announced that they are terminating their agreement effective by the end of this year with the USA branch of Iello. They have not given the reason why. It's according to their statement, it says they reserve the right to communicate at a later date the reasons that led to these decisions. So presumably they will be telling us later on. We're not 100% sure. Now, the U.S. branch of Iello is, at least in part, run by Stéphane Brissot, who has had some controversial stories surrounding him in the last few years, but so there's some speculation that maybe it has to do with some of that stuff, which we can maybe get into. But Tim, I'm glad you're here because you are in the industry, and I'm sure you've in some way dealt with localization and different shipping your game to different regions and all this kind of business that comes along with the territory of publishing games. What do you make of this story for Iello? Is this as surprising and strange to you as it is to me, or do you have maybe some more insight into the underworkings of this thing?
Well, I wish that I had some inside information that I could share with you. And I'll just tell you that from the publishing standpoint, the business part of it can often be just as confusing as a bad rule book. It's hard to say. My only speculation about this is, and I would differ from you, I don't think it has anything to do with any of the players in the game. I think it has a lot to do with just being able to localize titles. So I think by just cutting ties, I think what they're going to do is just allow Iello USA and Iello France to sort of separate out into two different factions, if you will, and just be able to publish separately. That may have to do with supply chain issues. It might have to do with licensing. It might have to do with shipping. I don't think that it necessarily is anything more nefarious than that. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. And it's not unusual for companies to have, separate divisions based on the continent or country. Why they're separating might be purely financial. But again, all speculation on my part. I don't know anything that you don't.
Yeah, I think that I think I'm pretty convinced of what you're saying. My guess is that it is mostly business reasons. But the thing that surprises me about this is that, I mean, as someone who, my focus is how the games play, and I don't always, I'm not always as up to date on the behind the scenes business decisions and things like that. I don't know that I would have even realized that like Iello USA and Iello France are such separate entities that they can cut ties. And I'm wondering now what is going to happen to the American branch of Iello if they don't have the rights to publish some of the bigger games that come out of the French department. Will, what do you think about Iello as a publisher? Like does this affect them? As of right now, their website, by the way, has been kind of, you can like sign up for their newsletter, but their website it's not up right now fully. So it does seem like they're going through some kind of restructuring, reacting to this news.
I think Tim is right. I think it has to do more with the rules, so to speak. I mean, I remember like when someone brought like the previous person had a problem at a Gen Con before. I forget what it was, but I don't remember being like the kind of thing I would think would end a career, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do, but like I know like there's when it comes to businesses, there's so much weird stuff, especially the bigger their business is to be like, all right, we're gonna do like a smaller thing here or a thing here because this works, especially even in the United States, be like, well, this state has this rules, so we're gonna do this thing here. Some of it may be shadier than others.
Hmm.
And I do know that like we just had the whole, and I don't know if it even matters or not, but the whole like thing going through Congress or the House, like it seems like it's finally been agreed upon, and maybe they're like, okay, so now that we know what's going on, we're going to close this branch and now go through this because this is the more cost effective way.
What thing is going through Congress?
The
I have
like
no idea.
the new it's the whole thing of like environmental costs and what taxes we're gonna the whole I forget what they called it with the it's mostly through the Democrat Party right now. It's not having even like gone past them,
Okay.
but it's pretty much on a bunch of it would have been a bunch of additions to taxes and like also benefits. So it's the kind of thing like some maybe some major rules changes in the U.S. sphere. And the only reason I even think of that is because this involves the North American branch.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't even like. Do you think is there a future where Yellow is publishing and responsible for just entirely different game? I mean, I guess that's what this is. Like they're completely divorcing themselves from each other. But they share the same name still. So isn't it like a kind of confusing?
Yeah,
How
that's
does
once
that
again,
work?
I don't know if it's going to be like they're going to just get Yellow North America like quote unquote like let it die or sleep, and then they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna have Asmodee publish our games in America or something, or it still have the yellow symbol, you know.
Right.
Like I don't think this is gonna be like I don't think this is like you should get really worried, get all your King of Tokyo stuff now while you can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure certainly for those popular games, they're gonna find a way to, because I have to imagine that whatever the reason this is, and financial it may be, I can't imagine that their games weren't selling well enough in America. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe that's I don't. It doesn't seem like that would be a
Maybe, but
factor.
I mean, I don't think I don't think they're at this year Gen, but I mean Gen Cons before, they tend to have a relatively larger
No, they
booth.
were at Gen Con this year. Yeah, we
Uh,
saw them.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know,
They
I
seem to do well
assume
here.
booth size tends to be you put that much money in because you're making money there.
Yeah, perhaps. So this is strange. I don't know. It's strange to me. I'm very curious to find out what these reasons are, and if and when. It's interesting to me too that, like they said, they implied that they will be telling us why they're doing this, but not yet. Some legal reason, I assume. They don't think it's in their interest to talk about it just yet. Maybe it's because they formed a new partnership with a different company, I guess, that are not ready to disclose. That's, again, just total speculation, but
They're renaming themselves a rebrand completely into just King of.
Finally, a name that is spelled like it sounds.
No. It still has a really unique spelling. It's like CE,
yeah.
two M's.
Yeah. Most of the letters are silent. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Hopefully, sometime in the near future. I mean, officially, this takes place December 31st. So up until then, at least, they'll be selling these things. So I don't know. I don't know how long. I imagine they knew about this before we did here in the U.S. But I don't know if they're frantically trying to sell out the rest of their stock right now before they no longer are allowed to. It must be a strange, turbulent time to be a Yellow USA employee, I imagine. I really wonder like what is going on behind the scenes there, and what their reactions are to this. Well, if any Yellow employees listening, feel free to reach out to us. They're not going to. Okay, so that's one strange legal thing that's going on. But as often happens in the world of board games, it is not the only one that is occurring. There was also the issue of a lawsuit between ACD Distribution, who is a games distributor that has a bunch of games they sell to different retailers and so forth, and Wizards of the Coast, who of course we know as publishers of Magic the Gathering. And there was a big disagreement between them when Wizards of the Coast, once again talking about terminating agreements, no longer decided they wanted to work with ACD, have them sell their products. ACD did not like this choice, argued that it was unfair to them, and in fact went ahead and sued Wizards of the Coast. And they've gone through all kinds of multiple trials where they had lost, they appealed, and now officially it has been ruled against them. They have to pay all of Wizards of the Coast's court fees for the case, which in this instance is around $250,000. So we've talked a lot about Wizards of the Coast and distribution deals and what it means to be able to sell Magic the Gathering, whether you're a store or a distributor. That having that Wizards of the Coast relationship can be really important. Tim, what is your take on this story, knowing what you know in regards to distribution and how these kinds of deals operate? Do you guys work with through ACD? I assume you do, maybe or maybe not.
Well, we do. ACD is actually located locally to us here in Wisconsin, so it's just in our neighborhood, so to speak. So I think this comes down to the fact that Wizards of the Coast realizes that these distribution deals are very, very profitable. And my understanding is that they're trying to do more of the distribution themselves and trying to sign exclusivity deals with distributors. That's has happened with other publishers, where a distributor will take over an entire line of a company and just be the sole distributor for retail shops. I know it's a huge loss to ACD, and $250,000 just in legal fees alone is no small piece of change, especially coming out of a year that was challenging in terms of distribution, and because of staffing, because of the pandemic, supply chain issues, shipping, all the rest of that stuff. So that certainly is going to be a big hit to them. And just in terms of the percentage of sales that Wizards of the Coast products take up, I mean, Magic the Gathering, D&D, all that stuff, that's a giant chunk of change. So it's certainly going to have a big impact on them. I'm a user of their products. So, I mean, I enjoy what Wizards of the Coast puts out. But they are certainly a big powerhouse. So they're the giant, and ACD isn't small potatoes, but it is certainly smaller than Wizards of the Coast. So it seems to me a bit of I don't know, perhaps some bad move to try to cut out a company that's has been distributing and selling their products to retailers for a very long time. So one would wonder if without a company like ACD and other distributors, would Wizards of the Coast have grown as big as it is? So are they kind of cutting out the middleman at the expense of the little guy, if you will?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like these two titans, but one titan is more of an underdog than the other titan for sure.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine that they took into account the costs they might have to pay, but has decided it was worth fighting for because of just how much is on the line here. As
Yeah.
you said, not being able to sell Magic, it's that's that's a big blow. And this
Yeah.
was we've seen this happen too. I thought maybe it was Wizards of the Coast, or was it maybe I'm just thinking of Asmodee, because I know there were some exclusive deals made through what do they call Alliance was another big distributor.
That's another big distributor. That's the one I was referring to without specifically naming them. But I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that was at stake with ACD being in Wisconsin is there is a law in Wisconsin called the Wisconsin Fair Dealership Law. and ACD thought that they stood pretty firmly in the right, because it allows um, suppliers or distributors in this case, and manufacturers. There's some rules that govern how they work together and their dealership agreement and so forth. And I think they believed that they had a good shot at winning the case because Wizards of the Coast was violating that. I'm not a lawyer. I really don't understand all the ins and outs of it, but I assume that there were some pretty smart lawyers that were making some decisions. But unfortunately, in all court cases, there's a winner and a loser, and in this case, the ACD came out as the loser. Wizards of the Coast, I'm sure, will not even really even bat an eye. They'll just keep selling Magic cards and all the rest of the stuff.
Right, $250,000. That's like about an hour's worth of Magic cards sold for them. I don't know.
Pretty much.
You know,
It's like what, 4 of those Pokemon cards that we talked about the other week?
yeah. We need to get past guest Sarah Shaw back on the show for legal expertise. But for now, we just have what we know. What's your take on this, Will?
Well, I mean, I can definitely see them going the exclusive route, and that's because they usually get paid more. But I think that would be a terrible idea considering just how, in general, like how important it is we talked about getting Magic cards into your store. So making it only one distributor makes it very annoying, regardless of who it is. And in terms of the idea of like, oh, we'll distribute ourselves, I'm just going to point out now, ask any Magic player who's ordered a secret lair and ask if they've gotten it yet. I think they're like a year behind. So Magic already has a sort of a bad track record of actually delivering on their product themselves.
Well, and let's not forget the real losers, I think, in this are going to be the retailers, the stores, because remember, Wizards of the Coast produces the product, ACD distributes it to retailers, and then of course retailers sell it to us as consumers. The ones who are going to really lose out are going to be the retailers who really rely on getting those boxes in for new releases. And depending on how this plays out, it could be that that's harder to get. I mean, having fewer distributors distributing product is going to mean that it take longer or harder to get it. So just in terms of regionally, ACD supplying to most of the Midwest as opposed to somebody who's down southeast, it's a different distribution channel. So in the end, the poor retailers who are having the customers line up for Friday Night Magic expecting to get new releases and they're just not there, that's going to be a problem, I think.
No, absolutely. And even though multiple retailers could have more than one distributor, that's usually done as a backup because sometimes they'll be, guess what? I know you wanted 10 boxes of the new set coming out. You're getting 2. Or we couldn't get you the promos. Maybe you could go to another one, but cutting out another one makes things very worrisome for a product that in particular, when it comes to trading cards, time is of the essence for a lot of these things because you want to get those cards for your tournaments, the promos and stuff, getting your hands on them. And if you can't get them in time, you can leave a really sour taste in the consumers and the consumer as well as the retailer. Because they feel bad if you're like, I'm sorry, I couldn't get you the buy a box promo that should be coming with your box. And then especially now, we're entering into the holiday season where we're already being told things are going to be hectic. So it's a little bit scary.
Yeah. I do think overall it's a pretty negative thing. And it's clearly for, if you're a big business of this size and you can afford to throw your weight around and make these exclusive deals, it's probably good for your bottom line. But I do agree it hurts retailers and ultimately consumers in worst case scenarios. And there aren't a ton of board game distribution centers or distributing companies out in America. There's a handful, but the more and more they seem to be specializing, and I don't think it's it's the best thing in the long run for most of these. For most people who are playing the games, except for the ones at the top making this money.
It just means that next time you want to play Friday Night Magic, you're going to have to head down to your local Target and then get kicked out.
Yeah, that could actually be true.
Yeah. I'm gonna be headed down to Wawa for a Pokemon tournament. All right. So, remember when Wizards did Pokemon? That was
that's probably a whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway, so another weird legal thing, but we do have at least one news story this week that's just a fun announcement that maybe we can all get excited about. From Garphill Games. It's Garphill, or is it like a Phil? Garphill. I don't actually know. But anyway, they're the publishers. People probably know of Paladins of the West Kingdom and all those. That series of games, and they have announced their newest trilogy that they are calling the South Trilogy, a new set of 3 games that are scheduled to come out, one a year starting in 2022 through 2024, and they're calling it the South Trilogy. Each one will be blank of the South Tigris, as in the Tigris River, famous for, of course, Tigris and Euphrates, the board game. So some more love for that region in the board game hobby. The first one that's coming is called Wayfarers of the South Tigris. That's going to be on Kickstarter next year. And all 3 of these games take place in this region of the world. This one is in Baghdad and has to do with a lot of the things that were invented or discovered there during the 9th century. There's going to be stuff about astronomy and religion and all kinds of different aspects of the culture in that area at that time. It's going to be a dice placement game. Everyone has their own board and they're placing dice, manipulating dice to take different actions. They also said they want to focus a little more on player interaction. So in this one, it sounds like there's going to be some way for players to kind of make deals with each other or like pay each other for use of their spots or workers. And again, there's 2 other ones. We know the most about Wayfarers, but the other 2 are coming in the years to follow. Tim, are you a fan of these trilogies? This is the 2nd or 3rd trilogy, maybe, from these designers. Are you looking forward to Wayfarers?
Yeah, I mean, basically anything that Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald do is gold. I mean, their stuff is great. I mean, there's some that I like better than others. So there's 2 sets of trilogies. The first was the North Sea one. That was shipwrights, raiders, and explorers. And then the second was the West Kingdoms, which was architects, paladins, and viscounts. And then this is the third. So the South Tigris. I think these look exciting. The artwork is amazing. It's the same artist whose name I won't even try to pronounce. My apologies. But great artwork. And I think it's going to be great games. And apparently there's another one right after it. So they've already got games lined up into like 25, 26, 27. They'll continue to move east, apparently. And I'm excited to see them. And I think they're going to be very well received, and certainly a theme that we haven't really seen a lot of. I think it's great that they're going to explore that as well. So.
Yeah, it's really fascinating the way each of these games takes the historic nature of the themes into account and builds it into, all the ones that I've played, at least, very strong, solid Euro games. Will, what do you think? Which, I don't know how much of these you saw, and which of these sound maybe more interesting to you, or Wayfarers in particular, if there's something you'd be excited to see this series do.
I mean, a big fan of the previous ones, so I guess I have high hopes for these. I like this idea of trilogies in different areas. And I didn't watch the video, but the top comment on the YouTube video that with the announcement at least seemed to answer the question I was worried about, being like, it seems that they actually did research in this area and stuff. It's not just like, oh, we're just gonna yoink, take and paste
the cultural appropriation issues and things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's at least I'm hoping that's still good. Like I said, I haven't watched the video, so I cannot confirm if they said that or not. But
It is a
like I
long
said,
video, so I don't blame you.
high hopes.
Yeah.
It's not another the same Knights that we're used to, and I once again solid game systems, and I like this idea of the. Good things come in threes, so.
Yeah, I really like the way they talked about Wayfarers, at least how it has this, like ancient, I don't know if ancient is the right word, but the old times setting. But because you're dealing with like telescopes and things, there's also a lot of artwork of space and stars and planets, which I think is kind of a fun, interesting contrast. I will say for me, it's almost, there's something almost overwhelming to me of being like, as you said, they've announced there are 6 games in the future coming from this company, one a year, and they're all like, based on their track record, relatively meaty, heavy strategic games. It's almost intimidating to me. Like, man, I don't know if I'm going to have if I gotta have the time, the budget, and the intelligence to play these games. But I, like you guys, I think I'm very happy that they've had so much success with the series, and it's exciting that they have these ideas and that they're going to be taking them all the way into these plans in the future. It's almost like seeing the sketch out for like this next slate of upcoming Marvel movies. They're
Right.
like planning out their universe.
Well, what I like the best about the way that Garphill does the games is that the series always starts with one that's sort of on the lighter side, a little simpler. And then as the trilogy goes on, those titles become a little bit more complex. So, and they develop one kind of off of the other, both thematically and mechanically. So I think we should expect that Wayfarers will be very similar to their other first titles in the series, like Shipwrights or Architects. It's going to be a little bit simpler, a little bit more on the lighter Euro side, and then builds up as the games get released.
Yeah. Tim, do you have a favorite of the series?
Well, that's kind of hard. It's like picking your favorite Star Wars episode, but which, by the way, no, I won't. I was going to pick one, but no, I would.
We don't want to start that much controversy.
Exactly. I between the North Sea trilogy and the West Kingdoms trilogy, I would say I like the North Sea better, but it's hard to say if that was just because it was the first and it was kind of innovative at the time. But I would say probably Raiders with the North Sea trilogy. I would say Raiders was my favorite.
All right. Mark that one down, folks. If you haven't played one, check that one out. Okay, so we will find Wayfarers launching on Kickstarter 2022, and I guess it sounds like they're also hoping to release it next year. But of course, with shipping and everything, there may be delays, so we'll just have to keep an eye out for it.
I think that's the only thing that you can count on.
Yes, death, taxes, and Kickstarter delays.
You've reached the end of the video, but before you go, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and maybe try to help us out on Patreon if you can. If you want to hear more from us, we've also got a podcast. This is released weekly, and there'll be links down below for wherever you want to listen to podcasts.